is up, everybody? Welcome to the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, the podcast for cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and suck less. Here in Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
Here in Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
And this week, joining us from Atlanta as well, he is a singer, songwriter, instrumentalist, and currently best known as the band leader for the band Yacht Rock Revue. Nick Niespodziani in the house, you guys.
Hey guys,
Welcome.
what's up? Good to see you.
Yeah, great having you.
So, Nick, we've been kind of having conversations with other musicians in this, I hate saying in this climate because I feel like it's the thing that we say over and over again. But for the people who may not know who you are or who Yacht Rock Revue is, can you give us kind of like a little retrospective on your kind of journey in the music world and how you kind of ended up where you guys are right now?
So we moved to Atlanta when we graduated college and thought we were just coming here to try it out, you know. Peter and Mark Cobb and I, who are still my bandmates in Yacht Rock Revue, we had a little band called YOU that was like, we thought we were like God's gift to rock and roll, just like everybody does when they're 23. But you know, we had some success, and I think we were a pretty good band, but we didn't end up like making it traditionally. So we were all kind of splintering off, getting ready to get into like real world careers, and we were just doing the club in town. The 10 High gave us a Thursday to do anything we wanted every Thursday, and we were goofing off, trying all sorts of stuff. And one night we did an AM Gold night that we ended up calling Yacht Rock because like a few weeks before it, we discovered the YouTube series, and we were like, oh, that's a good name for this genre. Let's call it Yacht Rock Night. And it was packed, and then that show became another show, and all of a sudden it just kind of, the ball started rolling down the hill. And I think the combination of the charisma and the talent of the musicians kind of hitting at the right time with this, I think we were part of the like resurgence of that genre, or like basically the discovery of yacht rock as a genre. And it just was super serendipitous. We're really lucky. And so now that's like our full-time job until a few months ago. It has been our full-time job for a while, and I think it will be again, but probably not for a while.
Yeah. So my first like interaction with you was actually my band opened up for YOU on like some weird July 4th thing in like Macon. And at that point, YOU featured a pre-Zach Brown band, Clay Cook, I believe.
That's right. Yeah.
We did that with you guys.
Yeah, I remember that was at that little club in Macon, right? Is that where that was?
I don't know. Was that? I feel like it was like an outdoor thing.
Was it outside?
Lake, like there was a lake, and they were going to do fireworks after the show or something.
Yeah.
And I just know that we were loading in. You guys were doing a whole lot of love, and I was like, "Oh, these guys rule." And
That's funny.
And
yeah,
then,
that's right.
You know, kind of going through both of our journeys, I ended up working with you guys for a little bit, doing sub work for PleaseRock under both of the umbrellas of your band and Yacht Rock Schooner. So yeah, I mean we've had a relationship for a little while, and it's been like amazing to sit in with you guys at 10 High and then watch you guys do all the stuff that you've done since. It's been crazy. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So can you kind of like explain to us the PleaseRock organization, like what that entails? I mean, you guys are more than just a working cover band. You actually are a full kind of like commercial entity with a couple of different legs. So could you kind of break that down for us a little bit?
Sure. I mean, kind of like Yacht Rock, it kind of grew organically. There wasn't like a grand plan to make PleaseRock this or that. We've tried some things that we were maybe not as good at, and like we've kind of discovered what we are pretty good at. And I think that's kind of a constant search that every business owner has, right? Like what you were good at a couple years ago might not be what you're going to be good at in a couple more years. So we're always trying to look in the mirror with that. But I mean, the main existence of our business, the main reason it exists is because of Yacht Rock Revue, because it's a very busy touring, merch, corporate gig kind of business. So we have a great support staff, and we do a lot of stuff in-house. Like all of our own social media, our marketing, a lot of our PR, all of our bookkeeping, merch reproduction. We have people that do all that stuff, so we don't like outsource any of that to companies, which are we've had great experiences doing that in the past, but we've just figured out that for us having it all in house makes sense. And then, speaking of organically, we were getting all these gigs, and there were more gigs than Yacht Rock could play. So we were like, let's create another Yacht Rock band. So we created the Yacht Rock Schooner, who's now close to a full-time working band in their own right, like amazing group of players. And we've got several other bands that kind of, people come to PleaseRock now in Atlanta because they know they're looking for good, fun cover music that isn't like right down the middle. There's something about each of our bands that makes them a little bit unique. And that's our lane, and we found it, and it works pretty well for us. We also, Peter and I, my business partner in PleaseRock, also started a music venue called Venkman's, which is obviously not open right now, but that was kind of another offshoot of this whole concept. Restaurants and music venues are hard.
Yep.
I'm here to tell you. Well, like right now they're impossible, but like even before that it was hard. Um, so yeah, we've just always kind of tried stuff, and you think the reason we started the music venue is we were like, how can we capitalize on this goodwill that we've built with Yacht Rock, because the fad is going to run out and we need a backup plan.
Yeah.
And then as it turns out, the fad hasn't run out, and the restaurant's a lot of work. So it like, it's there's no crystal ball, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Venkman's is one of those amazing venues in the city. It's one of our favorite places to play. So, you guys have done a really good job of not only kind of casting the vision of what the venue stands for, like also, running and operating a consistently good place to play and eat. Even even when we're not playing, we still, swing by and eat when it's open. So it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's a good vibe, and I feel like your band or our band, or there are lots of bands where like there's not another venue in town where they necessarily totally fit, but
Yeah.
there's something about our place that, and they're it can be wildly different types of music. Like there can be the Atlanta Latin Jazz Orchestra one night, and then your 80s cover group another night, and then we just had, before this all shut down, we had Anthony Hamilton booked for a residency once a month for 6 months. Like we had all this just great esoteric kind of weird vibe going that I'm really proud of, and I can't wait for it to come back.
So I guess,
It's kind of
you
the
know,
theme right now, isn't it? Can't wait for it to come back. That's kind of where we're at.
Oh man,
Yeah.
man, I tell you, we need that Save Our Stages thing to happen though. I don't know if you guys have talked about that at all on your show, but that's everywhere I go, everybody I talk to, I blab about that a lot, because it's it for independent music venues, like it's going to be tough without it, you know.
yeah, definitely. So, I mean, but you guys were really coming into 2020 with some really solid steam. You had been in the studio, you had cut a complete album of original music. You guys had gotten really solid write-ups in Rolling Stone and a bunch of other publications. You had a tour booked with Live Nation to play all over the country. Um, and I mean, the branding behind that was like all solid, and I know you guys were ramping up production and like really ready to go and like give this a shot. So like, what has this whole situation kind of, how's that played out for you guys, as far as the business relationships and the dates that you had booked and all of that?
Large unpaid credit card bills that still are sitting there. I mean, like, we've always run our business like super conservatively. But there's a certain element to the cycle of releasing an album where I saw one musician describe it right when this started, is like the tide goes out. Like you spend all the money scaling up your production, your crew, we bought another van, another trailer. So we had 2 vans and 2 trailers. We did all of the vinyl and CD, and had a publicist that had on retainer. We had all this stuff, and we were scaled up, and it was working. But like the really big dates, the dates in Boston and New York and Atlanta and Charlotte, and some of our biggest markets, hadn't played yet. So the money tide had not flowed back in when things shut down. So we really got stuck kind of holding the bag, like we have, I don't know how, there are probably a dozen uh, Delta airline credits on my account right now from flights that I had booked that I couldn't use. I mean, it could not have hit us at a worse time. Even a month later, if we could have played a month more of shows, our financial situation would have been totally different. But
No.
it just hit us in a bad spot. Um, but it hit a lot of people less fortunate than me in a lot worse spots. So I'm not here to cry about it. It was just like as a business owner, it's tough to make that kind of investment and then get stuck with it. But we know our business will be back
Yeah.
at some
Are you
point.
in a place where you feel like those investments can just be picked right up and you can roll with them again once the environment's right?
I mean, we've got the airline credits. We've got the album is still out there. The album is a little bit of a sunk thing because when we go back out on tour next year, supporting an album that's a year and a half old next
Right,
summer, like
right.
that's a little
tough.
it's a little tougher. I mean, we'll still sell the merch bundles, and it might be different next summer because everyone else touring is going to be in the same situation. And the one thing that I felt from our fans and just from music fans in general is that everyone wants to support music. Like it's important to everyone, and our fans have been so generous with their energy and with their money donating to our crew on our live streams that like maybe when we go out next summer, maybe they will just be buying our record in droves because they're like, we didn't get to do it when you're supposed to be in New York last March.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, I think audiences might be real hungry once things open up. I think there's a chance it'll hit really hard.
Yeah, for sure. So, you kind of mentioned it kind of lightly, but one of the things that I did see you guys do when things started shutting down was that you guys pivoted really hard and have really kind of set up an infrastructure to make sure that you kept your brand out in the marketplace and that your awareness was as high as it possibly could be. So I would say that as far as musicians in this area, I mean, maybe even in larger markets, like you guys have really kind of cornered the live stream situation. uh Basically every night of, I guess, the week, not necessarily weekends and stuff, one of the guys from your groups is doing their own individual live stream. Is that correct?
Almost, yeah. We have actually starting this week, our drummer Mark Cobb's doing a new show on Wednesday nights, where he's like DJing like deep, kind of like groovy yacht rock songs and playing along on the drums. And it sounds like we've done some tests and it sounds really cool. So I'm excited about that. But we've got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday now we'll have. Um, which we kind of was by accident. I started on the Thursday and then other guys were like, well, I want to help too. And they started picking up and getting more serious about it and kind of, up in their game in terms of gear and presentation and just trying to, I mean, it's a little bit about keeping our brand out there. It's a little bit about, raising money to help keep everybody in healthcare because we have healthcare for our whole company and we're trying to just make sure if we promise nothing else that is going to be solid. So that's kind of why we do the tips and everything. But um it's a little bit of it is just about like feeling like you maintain that connection and that energy with people. Like it's something that I guess I kind of took for granted. I was like, oh, if I just never tour again, it wouldn't really bum me out that much. I didn't think I needed it to the extent that I do. And it's definitely, it's not totally filled that void. It's kind of like pizza. Like even if the pizza's not that great, it's still pizza.
Yeah. It's like streaming is like the cauliflower pizza of pizza.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you
I'll
go.
still eat it.
It's
I'll still
an
eat it.
okay facsimile
Yeah.
of the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the cool thing about the live streaming that you guys are doing is that it's not just, all of your guys they're doing like the same thing. it's like every single one of them has their own kind of specific lane that they're in and a kind of angle that they're going for. So like, Peter is doing the live stream with his wife, and they've got their own kind of like genre kind of era that they're kind of working through. And then the one of your other Mark Bencuya, is doing deep cuts, and then Greg is doing like his own thing. Like it's just been really cool to see the way that you guys have found ways to deliver unique products across the entire span of this whole situation.
I mean, one advantage that we have, and I've thought about this, especially in the live streaming thing, is that it's the same advantage that our band has, or that your band has for that matter, in that when you're covering an era or like a genre,
Yeah.
where your choices in terms of songs that you can work into your set list are basically infinite. So every one of my shows can be different. Whereas like my favorite indie rock bands, like, if the Flaming Lips were doing a live stream every Thursday, like you can only watch Yoshimi Battles of Pink Robots so many times before you're like, okay, I saw that last Thursday,
Yeah.
Although
Yeah,
if anybody could mix it up, they could. I'm pretty sure.
Right. Right.
I saw that they did a show where like everybody was in a bubble, like they were each
Yeah.
this was in
good.
like individual bubbles as well. I mean, that's a way, I guess.
Yeah. That's very much their way. Of course they did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as far as the other thing I wanted to talk about as far as like the live streaming thing is that like your rig is really interesting, and just for my own selfish, want to know side, can you explain like your whole setup? Because from the audience perspective, there are no mics. There's like, I don't see any amps. It's literally just you in a room, and the camera looks really good and the room looks really nice. But like, there's all of this stuff happening in the background that like you can't really tell where it's coming from. So can you kind of like unpack that a little bit on what that setup looks like?
Sure. Yeah. Kind of by good luck, we'd already had this broadcasting camera that we had invested in for Yacht Rock called the Meebo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. It's partnered up with Vimeo, so we got a new Vimeo membership that allows us to like simultaneously broadcast YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, like Periscope, all at the same time, which is pretty cool. And it has this boost accessory, so it's hardwired into my internet router by Ethernet.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing too in maintaining like stability, and not having the stream drop out or look weird or whatever. So that's probably like the super secret is that. And then the other aspect that it has is it has a USB that can go out to an interface, right? So I have an old Focusrite interface that I use and just run a mono into out of my Logic rig.
Okay.
And then with my Logic rig, I was using my Aero interface, and then all the Universal Audio plugins, which I'm a huge fan of. Like now I'm going to use my Apollo interface. I've kind of rearranged my studio now, so we'll see. This week's going to be a test. We'll see how it goes. But in any case, I use like the nice interface and then run a mix from that, and so that has all of my karaoke tracks, because I sing along karaoke to live recordings that our band has made that our engineers send me, without the vocals, obviously. And then that has all the backing tracks. And then I also can route in like different microphones that are out of the frame. Yeah. But basically I run like one large diaphragm mic that's kind of like a U87 clone-ish kind of thing. I don't have that kind of money, but like, it's a fine mic, and I just slam it on the compression in the Vox box and then put some reverb on it. And I found like the sweet spot. I mean, the challenge is always like the acoustic guitar taking up too much of the vocal. So a lot of it is getting that mic positioned the right way, so it's not getting too much acoustic bleed in it. And then I have I think you have one too, a Helix. Do you play a Helix, Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're big fans.
Yep.
Yeah, man, the Helix is awesome.
Killer.
So I use that for all the electric stuff, and then to plug the acoustic in for effects or whatever.
Yeah.
It took a lot of like tinkering and trying this and trying that to get the rig to a point where I was happy with it. But now, because I don't have other gigs to play, it all just stays set up and I'm rolling, every Thursday.
You just plug and play.
Mhm.
It was funny. About a year or so ago, I got a random text from Kip, who's one of your front of house guys, and he's like, "What do you think about that Helix thing?" I was like, I have nothing but nice things to say about it. Works really well, does everything I needed to do." And I feel like the next week, I was on David's blog and saw that you guys had added one to to the setup. So
Yeah, dude, the thing, it's righteous. I was always skeptical. I mean, I think if I were doing, like, if in our band, if I were playing lead, I would probably not. I would probably at least need a cabinet with it, because right now I just, I only play acoustic and rhythm electric guitar parts, and for that I don't even need a cabinet or an amp because we're all in ears and it's fine. If I were playing lead, I would probably want some to be pushing some air on stage, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's the thing that just blew me away is, was seeing it was like, it was just so transparent. I was like, how is he doing this? Because it just looks like you're standing in a room and everything sounds great. And I was like, how does he do that?
Lots of compression. That's really the thing. I like, I've talked to the other guys about it. I'm like, because they asked me the same thing, like, how do you do it? I'm like, however much compression you think you need, just a lot more.
Awesome.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So, I guess you guys are doing your thing, and it seems to be tracking really well. Do you have anything on the horizon? Anything to look forward to? Any kind of big stuff? Looking towards the end of the year that you guys have planned, or anything that you can kind of divulge to the people who are listening?
All planning is folly right now. That would be my first thing to say. I mean, we have a few tentative things that, we're working maybe on, like some like corporate advertising type stuff. We're working on maybe a couple drive-ins. We have been talking to a couple companies about like a paywall style full band live stream situation. Um, Maybe even we talked recently to that company Topeka, who did the Jason Isbell um, live stream, where he was able, they had the front row thing, and he was able to, there are like 6 TVs in front of him, and there are a bunch of people that paid for these front row tickets, and it's like a Zoom call with them, so he could see all of them while he was playing.
Wow.
And then when he was done, the audio mixer was able to turn them up, and they could clap and like say stuff to him and ask him questions. And I'm not sure how that's going to work, or if it works for like a full band live big loud show, but like those kind of concepts and that kind of um, attention to trying to bring the energy back is kind of where our heads are at. I don't think anybody has the answers, but I like working with people that are asking the right questions.
So, talking about the whole drive-in situation, you guys did one in Indiana a couple of weeks back for Live Nation. Is that right?
We did, yeah. Yeah, that was probably as stressed out as I've been
Really?
like in a long time. The week leading up to it, week and a half leading up to it, because we're kind of on the fence as to whether we should do it, but it just felt like, okay, Live Nation's doing it. They're going to pump a ton of money into it. I'm sure, I think they probably lost money even if they sold out all of them, because the production was so massive and Brad Paisley is so expensive and incredible. But like, so they offered it to us and it felt like we had to take it. So we took it. And then like 2 weeks before that show was the Chase Rice show that got a bunch of negative coverage, because even though it was a quarter capacity, there was no social distancing enforced. So there were like 1,000 people at the front of the venue all together doing exactly the thing that we all understand is probably not the best idea right now. So that press came out and I was like, man, is Live Nation really going to take this distancing seriously, or is it just going to be a free for all once people park their cars? And then the Friday before the show, I got a call from our publicist who's like, New York Times wants to come cover the show. And I was like, okay, maybe we're going to cancel. I don't know if I can I don't know. I've always wanted to be in New York Times so bad, but I was like, I do not want to be the chump who got panned in New York Times for having a stupid non-socially distanced concert. But so we had calls with the Live Nation people, and I was like, listen, I want to take this seriously. They were like, we're on the same page, and I should have known. Of course they are, because they've got shareholders, that are all watching. Of course they're going to take it seriously. But I said, I really like to make a video about like following the rules, and I want to send it out in an email to everybody that bought tickets, and I want you guys to project it on the screens before we play. And they were into all of that, and it all ended up going great. But like the process of making that decision, because the wrong decision could have been a career killer for us,
Percent.
For
right?
sure.
Like, so it was just an incredible amount of pressure, and a big relief when like it all went okay, and we looked kind of cool in the New York Times article, and like it all turned out like okay, but it was rough.
So were they doing like the radio transmitters, like in the stereo things? I saw that they had like a bunch of relay systems set up like in the fields. Like what was the primary like sound solution that they were using?
They brought in a massive PA system. It was all real sound.
Wow.
This was not a drive-in in the traditional sense with the radio transmitters. I think that some of the ones that we're thinking about doing this fall are that situation, but this was like jumbotrons, giant sound, and then the row, there was a whole row of cars, and then our audience only got partly into the second row with all the relays and the second set of jumbotrons back here. Like it was definitely the largest concert setup that I've ever seen.
That's great.
They did it right, and everybody delivered on their promises, which was cool.
That's great.
I mean, do you think, you were the only person of the three of us that was there? I mean, do you think that that's a viable option in this, currently, or do you think this is just kind of like it was like a test, a proof of concept, or what do you think about that?
I have trouble figuring out how the math wasn't really bad for Live Nation. Like, I just don't see that, like, on that scale with that level of awesome production versus what you can realistically charge per carload.
Yeah.
And the experience that you're delivering for people. Like, it's probably not economically viable. Some of these other ones we're looking at doing are a little smaller scale, and we'll see what those look like. I think there have been some in New Jersey where the cars are close together, but it's really like you stay in your car and it's radio transmitters. And if you get out of your car, you have to have your mask on anywhere you go. Like, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know. The big scale ones though is definitely that's going to be like special occasion here and there. It's not sustainable, I don't think.
Gotcha.
I'll tell you, I'm watching those
I
smaller ones.
I wish I could say something different, because it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm watching those smaller ones closely. Those of you seeing the video of this, I talked about this a couple episodes ago. This is the device. This is the device. It's an FM transmitter. I take a line off my board and theoretically fill a parking lot full of car stereos with sound.
Cool.
Got to experiment with a little bit. The only thing I know about it is when you plug it in, it makes my computer speakers hum. So it's doing something. Something's happening for sure. But
and you just, like, send it out like on the low band or something.
Oh yeah. I think on its high band, it is not legal. The FCC will come shut you down if they catch you. I don't know, but on the lower setting, it is fine. And so I'm just going to play some music through it tomorrow and walk down the street with a portable radio and just see how far I get. And I don't know. This may be something.
Cool.
Maybe something we do. I don't know.
Maybe protect your brain.
Yeah. Lead underpants and the whole thing. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. But nobody in my market here is doing that, especially like bar bands like mine. I'm so far from your on the scale of what you produce. Like, my band sets up in the corner of the bar. But if we were the ones putting on the come drive into the parking lot, that would be a game changer for us. It'd be huge.
Yeah. So my concern is, and it feels like people are starting to understand the basic like social rules of that situation.
I think so.
When we did it, it felt like I only wanted to do it with Live Nation because I was like, they better, and they had not only security, but they had the sheriff. Like, they were not messing around. And we had someone who wanted to produce one with us here in Atlanta, like right after that, but it would have been us, hiring the security ourselves and being on the line for that if something went wrong.
Yeah.
And like on a large scale, like
Mm-mm.
risk reward there is just a non-starter.
For sure.
I was like, no,
For
we're
sure.
not doing that. So
Yeah, I would want to do it in partnership with somebody. I don't know. I don't have that
yeah,
part figured out.
you want somebody hiring the security who hires security all the time.
Right.
Who,
Right.
like who knows
Yeah.
how to run that kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know.
Yeah, and maybe we're in the parking lot of a movie theater and they know how to operate concessions in a car hop kind of style
Yeah,
and
there
can
you go.
work on that out. There are opportunities is my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think on smaller, like not trying to do the ginormo dome approach that Live Nation did for this one. I think there are opportunities, smaller scale, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, Nick, do you have any words of advice to other musicians who are, we're all kind of in the same boat, regardless of where we've, the stages we played and the things that we've done up to this point. Any words of advice, encouragement, or anything you want to throw out to the people listening, as far as next steps, things you think people should be focusing on?
Focus on staying positive and wearing your mask and hunkering down.
Yeah.
Like it, we all, that's been the hardest part of this for me is that any problem that I look at, I want to solve it. And my life experience has led me to believe that if I put enough effort towards it, if I stay up all night thinking about it, that I'm going to solve it. I have confidence in myself and my abilities to do that. And it's still a battle with me to convince myself that that's not possible. Like this situation is out of our hands. Like if there is anything any of us needed to be reminded that you don't have control over what's about to happen, this is it, right? And like just don't beat your head against the wall trying to solve it. Just like musicians are in a position where we got to let it kind of go, like let all this filter out and then we can come back. But it's tough.
Yeah, I think we all can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been saying that for 20 straight episodes, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. At some point, all of the "what are you going to do with all this time" just kind of got old. We just couldn't say
Yeah,
that
just
again.
who cares?
Yeah.
And it's hard to focus on, like, at least for me, it has been. It's like I went back through my voice recorder last night of songs I've been working on. I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Like all these little ideas, but I haven't been able to, partly because I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, but like I haven't been able to see an idea, a kernel of a good idea to fruition during this time because you're glued to what's the bad news that's about to
Yeah.
come up on my phone. Is my 1-year-old about to like knock over every microphone stand in my studio? Like it's this game of whack-a-mole
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we're all playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely talked about like the mixed blessing of the whole situation. Like, I've gotten to spend more concentrated time with my young children than like. We've spent more time together in the past 3 months and like probably the last year to like combined, and
Mhm.
that's great. But also, it does eventually, like there's other stuff that needs to happen, and it makes doing that difficult when you've got all these other things going on, and it's just it's just a mix. You kind of have to accept the good stuff with the less than good stuff and
For sure.
try to figure it out.
For sure.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you have any what's the best way for people who are interested in what you're doing or what the band is doing to get in touch with you or check out what you guys have coming up?
YachtRockRevue.com, our just before lockdown redesigned website that has all of our non-existent tour dates on it. But we're on Spotify and Apple, and we're on Instagram, Facebook, all Yacht Rock Revue.
Fantastic.
Find us. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you who want to check out what Nick and his band has been up to, check out Hot Dads in Tight Jeans, which is the name of their current album. You can find it on all of the streaming platforms that he just referenced. And apparently you guys have it, CDs, vinyls, and things like that. Are those available on your merch store?
They are on our merch store and on Amazon and everywhere that you buy music on the interwebs.
Yeah, and you also have those sweet like dad visors too, right?
All dad appropriate, dad approved products.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Well, Nick, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time. Guys, that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, but I'll go ahead and call it for this week. From Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
From Greensboro, North Carolina, I am Dan Ray.
You've been listening to the Cover Band Confidential Podcast, episode 113.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
113. Have a great week.
Wow.
Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast. If you want to help us, be sure to share us with your friends, follow us on social media, and if you haven't already, please leave a review for us on the podcast platform of your choice. Facebook.com/CoverbandConfidential, Instagram @CoverbandConfidential, and Twitter @CoverbandConfid. If you have any questions, please email us at coverbandconfidential@gmail.com and consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/CoverbandConfidential. And for more info, check out www.coverbandconfidential.com.